I got a fire in me, you're gonna set to burn. And we got a world to see, and all the time to learn. Oh, hey. Let's set out on our road. Hey. We'll see how far we get in time to learn.
Welcome to the MC2 Podcast for episode number 8. My name is Jimmy McCanna, and with me is co-host
Andrew McNeil. Glad to see you, everybody. And this is actually our first video podcast, so we're pretty excited about that. Bear with us through any hiccups or crazy camera angles we might have. And we apologize that you have to look at us. But other than that, we're really excited about it, and it's been a little while since I've sat down with Jimmy, and so we've got some exciting things I think to talk about today.
Yeah, we do. There's a lot of stuff going on. Obviously, there's election. The primary's going on tomorrow, which is May 2nd, Tuesday, May 2nd.
Yeah, so that's a city election in Terre Haute, Indiana. So it's not a big one necessarily on the Republican side. I think there's only 2 candidates, and they're not opposed at all. So there's not a huge reason to go to the polls. On the Democrat side, there's 2 guys duking it out to be the nominee to run against Mayor Duke Bennett. So that's been all the talk, but even on the Democrat side, from what I'm hearing, the turnout has just been almost historic lows. So I don't think there's a lot of interest in certainly a primary when there's no opposition, there's no competition or anything really going on. So
Yeah, so do you think that after the primaries, the Republicans will caucus in and run some people against the Democrats?
Well, that's a good question, and they've done that in the past. I think that's something that they have talked about. What's going on behind the scenes a little bit there's a radical element, which is kind of funny. There's a radical element in the Democrat Party. In my view, almost the entire Democrat Party is radical anyway, but even within the Democrat Party here locally, there is an element that's the defund the police element. They're on the far left radical Marxist side. They're running a slate of candidates. They are trying to push some into some of these city council races. So the thought is if 1 or 2 of them should happen to win on the ballot, because the Democrats don't want them.
Yeah.
The mainstream Democrats don't want them. So if 1 or 2 of them happen to get through, that the Republicans will then caucus someone in to run in that slate, and the majority of Democrats, at least the mainstream ones, will back that Republican candidate. So it's kind of a coalition. We see that with Duke Bennett. It's a coalition he's very open about. That is a winning combination for here in Vigo County, for Terre Haute. So he has a lot of the mainstream conservative Democrats, if there is such a thing, that support him. So as long as that coalition holds together, I don't see there being any serious challenge to Mayor Duke Bennett.
Yeah, I don't either. And so it'll be interesting. I think that a lot of Pat Goodwin is able to. He's one of the ones running. Obviously, he's able to motivate a lot of people, to engage a lot of people, and then the young Brandon Sackbun is running against him, which he's actually has the backing of the Democrat Party, and it seems like they put a lot of money in that campaign. Also, really good signage around town. Good commercials. I think he has a lot of stuff leaning his way. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what happens if it is a blowout either way, to see what kind of support comes from the other side. I know back, and this was a while back in 2018 when I ran, I ran against somebody who was strongly supported by the Democrat Party, kind of the mainstream Democrat Party. And as a Republican, I was actually able to pull some votes from
That's interesting.
So from the Democrats, but they're the more far left Democrats.
Yeah.
because they were looking for just new faces.
Yeah.
And so I give them that. I mean, that's something they're looking for, something different, maybe not the same old. And I know that I heard a couple of them specifically said they have never voted for Republican before, besides for me.
Yeah.
Which I was honored that they did that. I'd still lost, but I was honored they did that. So I do, that side is a little more think out of the box, possibly, than maybe the mainstream stream Democrats. But I mean, honestly, closer to the way we kind of see as Republicans, we kind of see that the mainstream Democrats are a little closer to us, especially in Vigo County. I mean, Vigo County is long term has been known as a Democratic county, even from the state level, right?
Right. Yeah, they write this county off. I mean, when I ran for state representative, they had done polling that showed there was a possibility, and then I heard through the grapevine today that it just kind of back to the last election cycle, that the Democrats really were genuinely concerned that I was going to pull off a win and beat the incumbent Democrat. But I think that fear. I think that fear was based on what nationwide we were all hearing, that there was going to be this tremendous red wave. Yeah. It was going to be historic, and we were going to see just a tremendous turnout. And that didn't materialize. It didn't materialize here. It didn't materialize anywhere. And I always knew that I was going to need that. It was a huge uphill battle to start with, but. I mean, you ran for city council?
County council
in the same area that constituted what I was running for state rep. So we kind of overlapped a lot, and it's a hard left, solid Democrat area. Mm-hmm. It's a very tough nut to crack. Mm-hmm. So you're going to have to find someone the Democrat Party's unhappy with, or you're going to have to run right or left, that's going to catch something, or there's going to be some outside issue sometimes outside of an ideology that might give you an opportunity. Yeah. I was running against a public school teacher, ideology far left, issues far radical left, but it didn't matter because this public school teacher persona trumped everything.
Yeah.
So
and had backing from both sides.
Yeah, and that's the dirty
of the Democratic Party.
Well, yeah. So anyway, so there's a lot of infighting that's been happening recently, and I don't know if we want to get into this or not. I think this is one of those ones where my life's pretty good, Jimmy. I don't have a lot of people that hate me right now. And I just don't know if I want to get into this, but I think in fairness to, maybe people that want to hear this, I do think it's fascinating because the issue that keeps coming up, there's a lot of division right now in both parties. Like I said, we mentioned in the primary for the city elections, you have that far left, really a losing coalition of defunding the police and some of the really radical far left ideology stuff that is making a push, and it's trying to split the Democrat Party. Well, on the Republican side, we're not any better. We have just a tremendous division going on among elected officials, and then the Republican Party. And these are all Republicans, and it has been a head scratcher for me personally. And I've kind of tied it down to, okay, well, maybe this is just personality conflicts, because that can happen. And I do think that there is some of that going on. But the recurring theme, the issue that they keep pointing to, and this has been going back before I even came to Terre Haute, but with my race, and it was involved in my race, and then there were some others, is the issue that we have. This is what the statement is. We have all Democrats in Vigo County. They're all conservative. They're probably Republicans anyway. Why don't you let them run as Republicans on the ballot? Why don't you just open up the arms, let them all come into the Republican Party? What is your problem? And consistently, what we've seen is folks that want to run as a Republican for some office, it doesn't matter what it is, and you pull their voting record, and either they've never voted Republican, and we're going back 20 years, sometimes longer, never voted Republican or voted once. Now, the law was passed to kind of guide the Republican chairmen of the different counties, and it was basically that a person had to vote in the last 2 elections that they voted in. So it didn't have to be, let's say I voted in last year's primary, but I didn't vote in a primary for 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 years prior to that. As long as you voted for the same party, if you voted Republican, and this is both sides, not it's Republican and Democrat, as long as you voted for the same party, you could also run on the ballot without anybody's permission under that banner, whether it be Republican or Democrat. They want to make sure that if you're saying you're a Republican, you're a Republican. You voted as a Republican. If you're running as a Democrat, that you voted as a Democrat. So it's just... So they've given the chairman some leeway. He can sign off on someone to run. And so that becomes the big issue. Well, we had someone in my race. We've had someone who had run as a Republican, but their voting record was terrible. So they wanted to run as a Republican for another council seat or something like that here. And so... Basically, the chairman's position has always been, if we have an established Republican already on the ballot, then I'm not going to put someone who has consistently voted Democrat on the ballot against that person. I don't care that the establishment thinks that this other person is a better candidate. It doesn't matter. We've got to stay true to the party. So this candidate, the most recent candidate in this election cycle, was told, listen, we don't have anyone on the ballot. Give it. Let's wait till near the deadline, and if nobody comes forward, I will sign off on you running as a Republican. That was seemingly signed off to, and everything was good. And lo and behold, this candidate went out and talked to the Democrat chairman and signed off on him running as a Democrat. So, which is fine. I mean, that's party politics. It's what people decide to do. But this was used then as one more, nail in the coffin of the chairman has just throwing these obvious Republicans out and not letting these people in and all this kind of nonsense. So I think it is for the layperson, for the conservative Republican that hears this, it is nonsensical that our elected Republican officials are upset that we're just making sure you participate in the Republican Party and that you vote as a Republican if we're going to put an R by your name when you're on the ballot. Mm-hmm. So I do think, not this episode, but I do think it probably makes sense for us to just kind of go over what a Republican should stand for. And then also what a Democrat should stand for. I don't know.
I don't know either about that one. But I do want to say that specific to what Andrew was saying about your voting record. So a lot of people may not know this, but there is on a public document which ballot you pull in the primary. Now,
Correct.
there's no document that shows who you voted for each time.
Right.
But when you go into the primary, if you voted in that case before, you have to say, would I do a Republican one or do I want a Democrat one? So then that actually is on record. So when you're running for office, that really helps to guide what houses you may go to and gives you some ideas. But just so you know, your voting record, it doesn't say who you voted for. It just says which ballot you pulled in the primary. Now in the general election, you can vote for either side you want.
Right.
And I think that's what a lot of people that don't understand how the elections work and they're Republican, they go and they're going to be really disappointed tomorrow if they get up early and go because they're going to pull it and they're going to be like, oh, there's only 2 candidates on here and nobody's opposing them.
That's right.
It's going to be real quick in and out. But that's also one of the things that is talked about a lot with Vigo County is people will say, well, there's just no Republicans on the primary, so I pull a Democrat ballot in the spring or in the primary, which then makes you look as if you're a D because the only record we can see that you voted. I mean, there's a mark that shows that you voted in general election, but in the primary is where it shows a D or an R.
Right.
And so a lot of people will say, well, I just go to vote on the Democratic because I know a few of them and I want to vote for Joe Smith or whoever.
Yeah. And
so they pull that. But when you do, and when you pull that, you're actually, I don't know, it's not law, is it? You're considered.
No, it's just your voting. It's just
your voting record shows
Correct.
that you're a Democrat.
Yeah.
Because there's no way to tell in the general election.
No, and so that is one of the, playing devil's advocate, that is one of the things that they say. So we're using, we've heard this, 100 times if I've heard it once. We're voting for the most conservative person in the Democrat Party when we do this. Republicans never have anybody on the ballot. Or we're voting for a candidate that we think we can beat in the fall, whatever it is.
Yeah,
so they've got lots of reasons. I'm sure at some point some of that is true. But we're talking about people who have 20-year records of voting Democrat. It isn't true for every election cycle. It would be occasionally that you have voted Democrat, if that were true, if you were a true Republican. Now, for me, someone who's voted since I was eligible, I never miss any election. I love the process. I've always loved the process. I would have to already be in the ground and someone stealing my voter registration for me to vote Democrat in the primary. And I'm sorry, it is just that way with me. I'm like, I don't participate in their party. I want nothing to do with it. And I care about the Republican Party.
Yeah.
So I want it to be conservative. I want the best candidates, and I'm going to participate in the Republican side of it. I don't care what they do on their side. And to me, that is really misinformed to try to run over to the other side and try to mess with their primary. Makes no sense to me.
Ridiculous.
So I don't totally buy that excuse, but it is the excuse that's heard. I mean, that's going to be their side.
Especially in Vigo County.
Yeah. All right, so
sure.
We're going to move on to our
our main topic. Yeah.
maybe our main topic. So we do want to keep an eye out on time here. So we're gonna. I mean, you'll see obviously when you hit on the button to either watch the video, you're going to see the time on here. So hopefully we've been true to ourselves, and then we're going to be right around 30 minutes because that's what we're going to try to do. Mm-hmm. And so maybe make them a little shorter snippets, but I don't know how many of you out there have heard lately, and it's kind of blown up in the news, this term that is called Christian nationalism. And it's every time I've heard it used, it's been a real derogatory slam against pro-life, pro-Christian, probably pro-Trump voters. And so I guess I'm what they would call a Christian nationalist. I would never use that term for myself, which should tell you something. This was invented by folks who've got a problem with whatever Christian nationalism stands for. So I wanted to talk about how Marxists, the very first thing Marxists do is they subvert the language. You think about the CIA during the 60s invented and put out into the lexicon conspiracy theorists on purpose to disparage anybody who questioned the JFK assassination. That's why they did it. So today, conspiracy theorists, what happens when you say that term about somebody? What comes to mind?
Conspiracy theorists?
Yeah.
Oh, they're crazy.
Yeah, they're nuts.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they got their tinfoil
because
hat.
that's what we've all of been filled with. Yes.
So the other one that they do this with all the language. So Marxists understand you got to grab a hold of the language. You got to take a hold of it. So it used to be that liberals were what we are. We're a classic liberal. Did you know that?
Yeah.
About 100 years ago.
Yeah.
We were classic liberalism because we're for freedom, individual freedom. And they didn't like that. So they switched from progressive or whatever, which are still progressives, which are not, there's no progress. and the terms became switched because they grabbed a hold of it. And now they hate liberal because Rush Limbaugh made that famously a misnomer as well. And so then liberal, it was so bad that, they didn't want to be known as liberals, but whatever it is, they grab a hold of the language. Well, the one that they did that was famously, they got turned back on them was fake news. And I don't know if you remember the origin of fake news, but it was during the Trump campaign, and they were trying to disparage him, that whatever he was saying was fake news. And man, he grabbed a hold of that and ran with it. And he took fake news, their term that they coined for him.
Yeah.
And he beat CNN over the head with it.
Yeah, he did.
Because they were liars. And so he proved them wrong one after another. And every time, fake news, fake news, fake news, until they didn't own the phrase anymore. And people think Trump invented it. He didn't. They attacked him with, he's fake news. Oh, fake news. And then he just grabbed media, the biggest hypocrites in the world, and just went through all of the hypocrisy, all the false reporting, and called them fake news. And today they're labeled fake news.
Yeah.
Effectively.
They really are.
So that was the example of co-opting the language and then turning it back on the liberals' heads. But language is incredibly important. Christian nationalism is not something any Trump supporter would invent or come up with. It's nothing in the church. Christian nationalism is a term used by Marxists in the church, liberals, leftists, anti-Trump people to build this straw man and attack the straw man. So I love talking about what are they saying Christian nationalism is what is it they're actually attacking. So I think we should go behind that and talk about that because it's really important.
Yeah.
But I think first of all we need to acknowledge that is not a term we identify with. It makes no sense. It's stupid and it's meant to disparage anybody. Christian nationalism. I Googled today, looked up the term Christian nationalism, and it's incredible. List after the right Christian nationalism. This comes from a seminary in Indianapolis. Christian nationalism is literally killing us, Jimmy. Did you know that?
That's what they said.
It's literally.
Yeah. They use the term literally.
Yeah,
so
they did.
We're dying
from Christian nationalism.
Yes.
It's because they attribute it, and they said Christian nationalism. It's based number one belief is guns, more guns. Period. And then they throw Christianity on top of it. This is what they're telling us. So that's it. So they're basically using Jesus. That's their words. Using Jesus to keep guns in the hands of everybody. So that's why it's literally killing us. Now it's laughable. It really is. But this is becoming a very serious debate in the church. It's something we are going to have to address and at least know how to defend what we believe and not take the bait of these goofy language co-opting that they do. Yeah. So where Trump took, fake news, beat it over the head of the actual fake news, we can deal with this and not take the straw man bait that they have for us. I think President Obama was one of the best or worst, however you're looking at it, at using straw men to beat up on the Republicans, and the Republicans had no answer for it.
Yeah, you're right.
He would say things like, "Now Republicans, they're going to say you need to sit in the back of the bus." No Republican saying that. Mm-hmm. He would say, "Republicans, they're going to tell you, blah 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 blah." Whatever he said. No Republican ever has said it. Mm-hmm. But immediately the Republicans are on the defensive because he's created this straw man that you've got to defend. So it's the same thing with Christian nationalism. They believe in. So anyway, the origins of it's very good, but the biggest critics of Christian nationalism are actually within Christianity. It's the same never Trumpers.
Yeah, that's exactly. I have no doubt. I actually watched a little bit today because outside of our house, I fly a flag that we've flown ever since. Yeah, so Appeal to Heaven flag, which is from Washington's initial ships that he had, and it was coined from a poem from that time. Whereas if you lose your appeal on earth, you appeal to heaven, and that's really kind of the basis for over these last really couple years that we've had. And I actually had somebody I know, they were like, "That's a Christian nationalist flag," isn't it? It's kind of joking, but I started thinking a little bit more about it. You know, I think, and I totally agree with you on the term, but they're taking the message of Jesus Christ and Christianity and really watering it down to politics.
Yes.
Like, that's like the most important thing in the world.
Right.
The unfortunate thing is, for me, for you, it's not.
Right.
But for others, unfortunately, it is.
Yeah.
Politics is the end game.
Yeah. It's their religion.
It is the religion. It's their end game. It's what they're going after. And so to take that and kind of bring those together as a Christian nationalism, then it just tries to water down what we know as being Christians. All right, so I was digging online a little bit, Andrew, and I found an article that actually went through, and it was actually cited by some sources. I'm not sure if we're going to agree with all of them, but it was cited, and it gave 6 questions, and you have to answer strongly disagree, unsure, agree, strongly agree. And at the end, it kind of tells you how terrible of a person you are. No, how much of a Christian nationalist you might be.
Okay.
So, what
are the questions?
The first question. So here we go. The federal government should declare the United States a Christian nation. That's number 1.
No.
No. Number 2, the federal government should advocate Christian values.
Yes. Without question.
The federal government should enforce strict separation of church and state.
It's not constitutional.
Yep.
That's not in the Constitution. People think it is, but it's not.
Oh my gosh, I've been told by everybody it
Yeah,
is the way
it's
it
not.
is. Okay, well, I guess I won't believe
We
that.
can talk. That one will definitely be something we need to talk about in the next.
Yeah, we should
next
at some point.
Yeah.
The federal government should allow the display of religious symbols in public spaces.
Well, in my opinion, just as long as they're Christian.
Well, I know where you're going to fall on this list here.
Yeah.
The success of the United States is part of God's plan.
Well, okay. Yeah. That's the straw man right there.
It is.
That
No,
is not something that we're.
No, because a lot of this is, and once you start reading this, I'm going to read the last one. The federal government should allow prayer in public schools.
Well, absolutely, because it always has.
Well, and so, but here's the whole thing. Here's the whole thing about this.
Yeah.
1, 2 of the 6 questions, 5 of them start with the federal government.
Yeah. That's what they're trying to.
So
get at.
that is your religion, is the government.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So they're saying that, and I think that's where a lot of this is coming from. Is they're trying to link the Christian ideology to the federal government, like that is as important to us as Jesus Christ coming and dying.
Well,
and
part of the accusation
Yes.
is that they want us to be that we're wanting a theocracy. We're wanting basically, to hear from God and then demand it of the citizens. That's what what they accuse us of. That's what they're wanting. Nothing could be further from the truth. That's just absolutely ridiculous.
Absolutely.
So this was episode 8.
Yeah. Let's cut it
We had
off.
a really good time. It's been a while since we have chatted, so this is really fun. And then hopefully this video is presentable. It's going to be on the YouTube video channel. This will be
Yes.
the first one on the YouTube channel, so we're going to put that out there.
Yeah.
We're emailing these podcasts out. By the time you watch this one, the actual audio download of our podcast should be over 1,000, which is incredible since we only started in January.
Yeah.
So we're really appreciative of all you folks listening to us, giving a shout out. You know what? You may disagree with us. I think that's great. Send us an email at the MC2 Podcast at gmail.com.
Yep.
You can also respond to the YouTube channel when you see this video. Send us. Be sure to like and subscribe to
And comment.
Yeah, and
to the YouTube.
Give us a comment and share it with your friends and your family. You know what? You might put us on mute and play us to keep the mice away at night. If they got to see me and Jimmy, it might kind of, anyway. But it's been a lot of fun doing this. And I hope to, we hope to see you guys soon.
Yeah. See you at episode 9.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right,
See you,
later.
folks.
We got a world to see and all the time to learn. I got a fire in me, you're gonna set to burn. And we got a world to see and all the time to learn.